Thanks once again for dropping by the channel. If you like the content, if you're new to the channel, please hit subscribe. Now let's get into this. So today it's been announced that, well, it's been told basically, the two front runners to face Canelo in May are Callum Smith and Billy Joe Saunders. Now, obviously, that fight, if it was to happen with either guy, it would definitely take place in the States. I think I remember doing a video on Tony Bellew saying that if he's to fight Callum Smith, it has to be in the UK. You know, no. It's that Canelo's in the States, end of. So that's the way it's going to be, because Canelo is the A side with pretty much everyone he fights. So you're going to probably Vegas more than likely to face Canelo. So two front runners are Billy Joe and Callum Smith. Both have titles at 168 pounds. Canelo, as we obviously know, vacated his 175 pound title there only a couple of weeks ago. I think that was to be expected. I didn't think Canelo would campaign at 175 pounds. I don't think other people did as well. I think that, beating Kovalev was a great achievement, but you're beating an older Sergey Kovalev who was kind of there for the taking. Still an achievement, still had to be done, but with regards to him sticking around at that weight, I don't think anybody felt that. So super middle seems just about right. I think Mauricio Sullivan said he'd like to see Canelo back down at middleweight, 160. Whether he can still do that comfortably or not, it remains to be seen. I would be quite surprised if we saw Canelo back down at middleweight. I wouldn't rule it out. I mean, I'm sure for maybe a Demetrius Andre fight or possibly a Charlo fight, he might possibly do it. But I think that Canelo's future now seemingly is at 168 pounds. But again, I'll touch on that now in a sec, actually, when I think about the middleweight division. I'll touch on that now at the end of this. Basically, the two front runners are Saunders and Smith. Now, I would pick Canelo over both those guys. I used to think he'd have a trickier time with Callum Smith. Now, I've never been on the bandwagon with Callum Smith. I've never been one of these guys who's ready to proclaim him as the best super middleweight in the world. When he beat George Groves, Gilberto Ramirez was still at 168 pounds, and I still rated him as number one in that division. So I've always been more impressed with Ramirez and guys like Benavidez than I have with Smith. Obviously, winning the World Box Super Series was a good achievement, but he had two fairly routine fights. He didn't look great in them, and the second fight in the semi-final was against a kickboxer on a week's notice. And obviously when he fought George Groves, it was a good win. Don't take nothing away from it. It was a good win. But it was George Groves at the end of his career coming off an injury. So I never really looked at Smith and thought, this guy is, the best in the division. And obviously the Hassan and Dam fight, a lot of people got gassed about that fight. I wasn't. I knew Hassan and Dam was a chinny middleweight, so I never really looked at that and thought, this is great. And I thought John Ryder won. I thought John Ryder beat Callum Smith. And John Ryder, very similar dimensions to Canelo, nowhere near as talented. So I thought if John Ryder can do that, and let's face facts, he beat Callum Smith, in my opinion. If John Ryder can do that, Canelo can do that times 10. So I think out of the two now, I would say Billy Joe Saunders would be the harder fight for Canelo. A couple of years ago, I thought Billy Joe had a very good chance of beating Canelo. I think he's a very good chance of being awkward with Canelo and giving Canelo, something to think about more so. But I still think Canelo has improved leagues. I know a lot of people weren't happy with Billy Joe's last performance. At the end of the day, Billy Joe Saunders, he strikes me as one of those fighters where he needs to feel a bit like Tyson Fury, very similar to Fury. He needs to feel almost a threat and pressure to perform his best. Like if you look at when he fought Lemieux in Canada. It's probably Billy Joe's best performance. I remember when that fight was announced, so many people were picking David Lemieux to win that fight. I couldn't believe it, because to me it was obvious that Billy Joe was the firm favourite. Lemieux just played right into Billy Joe's strengths, but so many people picked David Lemieux to win by knockout. And I think, fighting away from home, on Rival Show on HBO, Billy Joe really rose to that occasion. And I think against Canelo we'll see something similar. I think Billy Joe, he needs to feel that threat, because when he's fighting guys like his last opponent, there's no real threat there. And he ends up actually creating the threat because he makes the fight harder than it needs to be. So Billy Joe, I think, I personally, I would think Billy Joe will probably get the nod ahead of Callum Smith. That's just what I think personally. I think Billy Joe, he's more known. Neither guy are big names in Britain, but Billy Joe's been in the States. He's been over in the States. He fought on the KSI Logan Paul undercard. Obviously, the win over Lemieux in Canada. He's fought on Golden Boy shows before as the Lemieux win. So he's probably more well known across the pond and even in the UK than Callum Smith. So that's why I would imagine they'd probably give the nod to Billy Joe ahead of Callum Smith. And personally, I think that should Canelo get through Billy Joe, which I think he will, don't know if he'd stop him, but I think he'll definitely beat Billy Joe on points. and I think that looking likely September, probably Golovkin trilogy. I'd imagine that fight probably be down at 160 because Canelo has an IBF title to gain out of that. So that's what I think the year ahead for Canelo is. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. I sure as hell didn't think he'd fight Kovalev last year. If he came to me at the start of 2019 and said Canelo will fight Kovalev in November, I would have thought, you are crazy. I thought the only Alvarez fighting Kovalev would be Elite Alvarez. So boxing's one of those games, it can change, things happen. But me personally, I think that we're looking likely to see Billy Joe, Canelo in May, and then Canelo Golovkin in September. That's what I think will happen. Could be wrong, I've been wrong before. Let me know what you think down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, share it if it was useful, subscribe of course if you're new, and as always, I will talk to you after.